Hello and welcome to a River Hill Federation parent information session on the topic of relationship and sexual health education. My name is Susie Malaki and I am the SMSC lead at RPS. Today you'll also be hearing from Mylin Tu, who's the SMSC lead at DKH, and Laura Shipsey, who is the RSE lead at DKH. Now, what does all that mean? So just to help you with the acronyms, SMSC stands for Social, Moral, Spiritual and Cultural Education. Essentially, this is the big umbrella, the overarching ethos of the school that encompasses personal development. So it's quite vague and encompasses a lot of other subjects and is taught cross-curricularly through other subjects as well. PSHE, that stands for Personal, Social, Health, Economic Education, which is essentially the curriculum, the explicit teaching. And this is a curriculum through which children learn skills that they need to have healthy, safe, and prosperous life beyond just the school. RSE, or RSHE, is Relationship, Sex, and Health Education. This is a curriculum through which children explore emotional, social, and physical aspects of growing up. They learn about positive relationships, their growth and changes, as well as physical and mental health and well-being. The H in RSHE has been recently added, as you may have thought that health is usually under the PE curriculum, the physical education curriculum, but in more recent years we've discovered that health should actually have a place in PSHE and SMSE, because health isn't only limited to the physical, it is also for mental health and healthy living as well. So health in terms of physical, we focus on healthy eating, healthy lifestyles, whereas mental health, we focus on well-being and emotional regulation. Now, as teachers, as a school, and as a federation, we are committed to the success of our pupils. We recognize that parents, as well as teachers, play a pivotal role in the success of our children. Thought these were some nice visuals to demonstrate how we have a triangulation system where the parents, the school, and the child all work together for the child's best interest and success. Relationship sex education is a sensitive subject for many families. We have put together this information session as an opportunity for parents and carers to have transparency around the content of the curriculum, also its significance within our society today, and to establish reciprocal support between school and home life for the success of our children. Laura will be discussing the new statutory guidance that has been introduced this year. Then we'll move on to Mylin, who will be talking about the curriculum in more depth, the curriculum that we follow in the River Hill Federation. And you'll see me again at the end, where I'll be discussing some frequently asked questions from previous years.
Hello, thank you so much for giving up your time to watch this video. My name is Miss Shipsey, and I am the RSE lead and a Year 3 teacher at Dog Kennel Hill. It is so wonderful to see that you all care about your child's education. And I want to assure you that the new changes to relationships and health education will be taught safely, respectfully, and inclusively. I hope by the end of this video, you feel happy with our school's approaches to the new government changes. Thank you. Once again, thank you for joining the River Hill Federation Relationships, Sex and Health Education, RSHE, the consultation with our school community. Every member of staff across both schools cares deeply for the health and happiness of your children. I can also see that you do, which is why I believe that if we all work together, we can build healthy, happy and safe children. The government have made changes to the RSHE curriculum, making the lessons compulsory from September 2020. I want to stress the word relationships, as all primary children will be taught relationships and health education. These lessons enable children and young people to move to the next stage in their education with the skills, knowledge, and attitudes that will enable them to know how to be safe and healthy and to help keep others safe and healthy. The teaching at school will complement and reinforce the lessons you teach your children as they grow up. And if we are all working together, delivering messages of healthy, safe, and respectful relationships towards one another, I believe we will have done a good job at supporting the next generation. To do all this, we need creative approaches to RSE, to build safe, ethical places for pupils to explore their personal beliefs. And to deliver this, we will be using an award-winning scheme, the Christopher Winters Project. This scheme delivers content age appropriate, but as teachers, we will adapt the lessons to suit the needs, backgrounds, and sensitivities of our children. We want all pupils to be able to see themselves and where they fit in. In this spectrum of diversity that we will show them, I want to assure you that we will address these topics in a very sensitive and respectful manner. We will be mindful of cultural and religious beliefs as we sensitively teach the children the curriculum. Our society is full of different types of people, which makes our area so exciting and multicultural. And this is why these lessons are so important. We want everyone to feel included, everyone to have a voice and feel supported and safe with who they are, who their families are, and who they want to become. We want all pupils to evolve into their place in our community at their own speed. We want all pupils to be supported in this difficult time of development and to know how to report inequality or instances of violence on and offline. Why is RSHE so important? Well, Brooke says sex and relationships education is learning about the emotional, social, and physical aspects of growing up, relationships, sex, human sexuality, and sexual health. It also gives young people essential skills for building positive, enjoyable, respectful, and non-exploitive relationships and staying safe both on and offline. I hope you see the importance of these lessons and that I have addressed any of your doubts or fears. Thank you once again.
Hello, welcome to our consultation. My name is Mylene Tu, or Mrs. Tu to the children at Dock Hill, and today I will be going through with you the curriculum that our schools will be using to deliver RSE. Across our federation, both Rotherhithe and Dock Hill will be using the Christopher Winters Project to deliver our RSE curriculum. So this is a scheme of work that will reflect the developments in PSHE and the statutory guidance. It's also a scheme of work that has been approved and quality assured by the PSHE Association. So this means that all the content will be age appropriate and will fulfil the compulsory curriculum within the legal framework. Now, the lessons have been designed for use in reception through to Year 6, and they focus on families, relationships, safeguarding, keeping children safe, as well as units on respect and equality. The resource really helps to encourage our children to develop skills of listening, empathy, talking about feelings, and relationships with families and friends. This is our Christopher Winters Project curriculum overview, and as you can see, there are 3 to 4 lessons for each year group with very clear learning outcomes that our teachers will use in the summer term. All of these lessons have been mapped out to the outcomes of RSE, and they will cover areas such as families and people who care for us, caring friendships, respectful friendships, online relationships, being safe, And for health education, they will cover areas around mental well-being, internet safety and harms, and the changing adolescent body. Some of our lessons also link with the national curriculum in science, so you might see some links there. So from reception, you can see that the theme here is around family and friendships. And from year 1, they will learn the names of the body parts, the differences between males and females in year 2, and the ways that in which they will develop and grow. Importantly, our children will begin and also learn to recognise unsafe and risky situations, and to know who and where to ask for help. The curriculum continues by developing their knowledge year on year, developing their knowledge and skills as they learn about the physical and emotional changes of puberty and about reproduction. In year 6, there is a lesson on online relationships, and there are also optional units here. So there's one on FGM and one on respect and equality. So these are optional units that our schools may use depending on the needs and demographics of the school. So here is an example of what the children in reception will be covering. You can see the learning outcomes are here. So we've got 3 lessons, 1, 2, 3, and they are all linked to the early learning goal prime areas of physical development, and also PSED, which is their personal, social, emotional development. To give you an example of what our children will be learning, you can see that the learning intention in lesson 1 will be to consider the routines and patterns of a typical day, and the outcome from that lesson, so what we hope our children will be learning, will be for them to understand that some areas in which children can look after themselves. So for example, in dressing and undressing. So these are the skills that they would be learning through health and self-care. So they are linked quite nicely. In lesson 2, so the learning intention here will be to understand why hygiene is important. And I'm sure you'll all agree that hygiene is definitely very important these days. And the outcome here would be for them to explain why it's important to keep clean and to understand some basic hygiene routines. Lesson 3 is about recognising that all families are different. And so the outcome here would be to be able to identify different members of the family and understand how members of a family can help each other. We want our children to understand what makes our family special and how developing respect for one another is very important. They will also be learning about relationships with our families and how this is important because it can give love and stability and security for a child. So this is year 1's learning overview, and for their lessons in year 1, the core themes will be around health and well-being. So our learning intentions here are for the children to understand basic hygiene principles. So this is moving on or developing from reception's learning. Lesson 2 will be around introducing the concept of growing and changing. So the outcomes here would be around understanding that babies become children and adults, and knowing the differences between boy and girl babies. And lesson 3 will be exploring different types of families and knowing who to ask for help. So here we are learning that about safe and unsafe situations and knowing who we can trust. In year 2, their core theme is also around health and well-being, as well as there are some lessons around science as well. And the overriding theme for them will be differences. So here in their lesson, they will be learning about the process of growing from young to old and how people's needs change. They will also be learning the names for the main parts of the body, including some external genitalia, the differences and similarities between boys and girls. And in science, they will be noticing that animals, including humans, have offspring which grow into adults. So it's all very sciencey. So for learning intentions, for lesson 1, they will be introducing the concept of male and female and gender stereotypes. they will be identifying differences between males and females. So the outcomes from this lesson will be to understand that some people have fixed ideas about what boys and girls can do, and describing the differences between male and female babies. In lesson 2, they will be exploring some of the differences between males and females and to understand how this is part of the life cycle. They will be describing some differences between male and female animals and understanding that this making a new life needs a male and a female. In lesson 3, they will be focusing on sexual differences and named body parts, and they will be describing the physical differences between males and females and naming the male and female body parts. And as you can see, our resources here, we have many resources approved by the PSHE Association, which will support their learning for this lesson. So the Department of Education recommends that all primary schools have the learning here, because it will ensure that both boys and girls will be prepared for the changes that adolescence brings. And this is drawing on knowledge of the human life cycle as set out in the science curriculum. This is the learning overview for Year 3. And the overriding theme here will be valuing differences and keeping safe. The core themes within the Year 3 lessons will be around health and well-being as well as relationships. So their lessons will be around naming the main parts of the body, including external genitalia, differences and similarities between boys and girls, to recognise when and how to ask for help and use basic techniques for resisting pressure to do something dangerous, unhealthy, that makes them uncomfortable, anxious, or that they believe to be wrong. Within relationships, they will be aware of different types of relationships, including those between friends and families, civil partnerships and marriage, and to judge what kind of physical contact is acceptable or unacceptable and how to respond. So from the learning outcomes, they will be linked to these PSHE programs of studies. Lesson 1 will be exploring the differences between males and females and to name the body parts. Lesson 2, to consider touch and to know that a person has the right to say what they like and dislike. So here, for the outcome here, children will understand that there are different types of touch that people like and do not like, and understand what personal space is, and talk about ways in which they can deal with unwanted touch. The learning intention here will be exploring different types of families and who to go for help and support. In Year 4, the theme will be growing up. So in here we'll be covering areas, the areas health and well-being, and they will also be linking lessons with the science attainment targets. So in lessons for Year 4, they will be learning about how their body will and emotions may change as they approach and move through puberty. They will recognise the ways that they may experience conflicting emotions and when they might need to listen to their emotions or overcome them. And they will also be learning about human reproduction. In science, it will be the lessons will be linking with their describing of the changes as humans develop to old age. The lessons are 3 lessons. Lesson number 1 will be exploring the human life cycle, so describing the main stages of the human life cycle, the body changes that happen when a child grows up. Lesson 2 will be identifying some basic facts about puberty, so discussing male and female body parts using agreed words, and you can see the vocabulary up here. These are age appropriate and also the correct terms that we will be using through the Federation. Also in lesson 2, from the lesson, the outcome will also enable the children to know that some of the changes that happen to the body during puberty. Lesson 3 will be exploring how puberty is linked to reproduction, and the outcome here is for our children to know about the physical and emotional changes that happen in puberty and understand that children change into adults so that they are able to reproduce. In Year 5, the theme will be puberty, and it will be linked to the PSHE theme of health and well-being, as well as relationships. There are also links to science. They will be learning how their body will and emotions may change as they approach and move through puberty. They might start to recognise that they may experience conflicting emotions and when they might need to listen to their emotions or overcome them. They will learn to feel confident and raise their own concerns, to recognise and care, as well as about other people's feelings. And in science, they'll be describing the changes as humans develop to old age. So there's 3 lessons here. Lesson 1 will be exploring the emotional and physical changes occurring in puberty. So the outcome here will be for children to explain the main changes, both physically and emotionally, that happen during puberty. And this is really important because we want children to understand what happens to themselves when they get to this age, and for them to be able to ask questions about puberty with confidence. Lesson 2 will be understanding male and female puberty changes in a bit more detail, and understanding how this affects the reproductive organs, and describing how to manage the physical and emotional changes. And in lesson 3, they will explore the impact of puberty on the body and the importance of hygiene, and explore ways to get support during puberty. So here we hope that the children will be explaining how to keep clean during puberty, explain how emotions change during puberty, and know how to get support and help during puberty. In Year 6, the theme will be puberty, relationships and reproduction. And you can see the vocabulary that will be used for Year 6 here. The themes that will be covered will be under health and well-being, as well as relationships. So this will be around how their body will and emotions may change as they approach and move through puberty. About human reproduction, so this is linked to science. The importance of protecting personal information, including passwords, addresses, and the distribution of images of themselves and others. So this is around being safe online. In relationships, for them to be aware of different types of relationships, including those between friends and families, civil partnerships and marriage, and to recognise what constitutes positive, healthy relationships, and to develop the skills to form them. So we've got 4 lessons in Year 6. The first one covers to consider puberty and reproduction, and this is describing how and why the body changes during puberty in preparation for reproduction, and for them to also talk about puberty and reproduction with confidence. Lesson 2, in the intention here, is for our children to consider physical and emotional behaviour and relationships, and discuss different types of adult relationships with confidence, knowing what form of touching is appropriate. Lesson 3 will be exploring the process of conception and pregnancy, and describing the decisions that have to be made before having a baby, knowing some basic facts about pregnancy and conception. And lesson 4 will be exploring the positive and negative ways of communicating in a relationship, to have considered when it is appropriate to share personal, private information in a relationship is an outcome that we hope for the children, and knowing how and where to get support if an online relationship goes wrong.
Hello again, and welcome to the frequently asked questions portion of this seminar. As unfortunately we aren't able to meet all together, I've compiled some questions that have been asked in previous years. The first question is, aren't these children in primary school too young to be learning about all this? Now, I'd like to reassure you that all content covered is statutory guidance from the Department for Education. The content is thoroughly researched, age appropriate, and quality assured. So in essence, we won't be discussing things with really young children that doesn't apply to them at their developmental age. So for example, reception children learn about family and friendship, whereas Year 5 children might learn about puberty and changes to their body. Can I withdraw my child from relationship and sex education? Now, this is where the new statutory guidance comes into play. As for relationship education, this is now a compulsory subject for all children. This focuses on family, friendship, healthy versus unhealthy relationships, safety, including online safety, and respect for all members of society, including LGBT+ relationships. So this is compulsory for all children. They are not able to be withdrawn from this subject. As for sex education, which focuses on different parts of the body and changes to the body, as well as reproduction, parents and carers do have the right to withdraw. However, it is really important to consider that many of these lessons are available in the science curriculum, as it is a scientific subject as well. And within the science curriculum, parents and carers do not have the right to withdraw. So ultimately, the children will be receiving the education around different parts of the body and reproduction, whether it be in the sex education curriculum or within the science curriculum. Will boys and girls be taught in separate lessons? Now, the simple answer is only in Year 6. It's important for every child to have a well-rounded understanding of the subject, whether it applies to themselves or to others. So just in really particular discussions, Year 6 children will be taught in separate lessons. Do children only learn about sex and relationships in PSHE? Well, the PSHE curriculum is very broad and it covers many topics such as financial capabilities, emotional and mental well-being, healthy eating, physical activities, gang and knife crime, citizenship, and the law. So it's not just all about sex and relationships, but rather, personal, social, health, economic education as well. So you can see that it's a very wide curriculum area, it's very broad, and it covers many different subjects. Does the school's lessons match my beliefs? In school, it is our professional duty to teach to the law of the land and reflect the needs of the society we live in. We teach that families can be made up in many different forms, including single-parent families, LGBT+ families, families headed by grandparents, adoptive parents, foster parents, and many other structures. So as you can imagine, there's lots of different beliefs of the families, even just within our school, let alone within our society. The most important thing is that children learn that family is a group of people who love and nurture each other. That's the main message in our teaching. I don't want my child learning about LGBT+. I understand that this is a very sensitive subject for some families. However, it is our professional responsibility to ensure that everyone is protected by the Equality Act of 2010. This act protects people against discrimination because of the protected characteristics. And this is why relationship education is so important and now made statutory. It prepares children for adulthood in modern Britain. It teaches them to respect others and other people's human rights and tolerance of those that are different to themselves. This includes respecting people from different religions, ethnic backgrounds, as well as people of different sexuality.
We hope that you have found our session today useful. There is a RSE consultation feedback form that will be available on the school website. Please feel free to answer or help us to answer the questions on this form, because it will let us know if the consultation today was helpful. Hopefully you have found also that the FAQ, the frequently asked questions segment, has answered any questions that you may have had about RSHE or the curriculum involved. If you do have any further questions that you feel we haven't answered in our consultation or in the FAQ, there is a part on the form where you can register your email. Once you've done that, we will reserve your place for a meeting. And we will send you a meeting link. There is a deadline for this, so please note that the deadline for this registration will be Monday the 19th of April at 12 o'clock midday. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch our consultation video today, and I hope that it has been helpful in helping you to understand what the RSHE curriculum will entail. Thank you.